Funny, isn't it? How a man can work hard, rise before the sun, break his back for decades, and still end up with nothing to show for it but tired bones and quiet regrets. You look around, and somehow the rich just keep getting richer. Their homes get bigger, their time seems freer, their money works while they sleep. And you're still working harder than ever, just to stay in the same place. You wake up early. You clock in. You do what you've been told is the right thing. And yet, you're still scraping by, waiting for payday, worrying about bills. You tell yourself, just a little longer, just one more raise, just one more year. But, deep down, you've started to wonder, why does this never seem to change? Let me tell you something I learned the long way. Wealth isn't just about how much money you earn. It's about what money does once it reaches your hands. And that's where the difference begins. See, the rich don't just work for money. They put their money to work, early, often, and quietly. They buy assets that grow while they sleep. They own things that produce homes, businesses, systems. You work for your paycheck. They build things that pay them forever. That may sound unfair, and in many ways it is. But here's the truth no one tells you. They were taught to think differently. And most of us never were. You were taught to stay busy, to get a job, keep your head down, and be grateful you have one. You were taught that working hard equals security. But no one explained the second half of the game. No one taught you how money moves, how it multiplies, how it hides in plain sight. You weren't told how taxes work, or how inflation quietly steals from the poor and rewards the investor. You weren't shown the doors that open when you own something instead of renting your life by the hour. And because of that, you're stuck. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because the rules were never explained to you. You play a game every day, but you were handed the wrong playbook. And here's the thing about games. If you don't know the rules, you can try as hard as you want, but you'll still lose to the ones who do. The rich keep getting richer, not just because they have more, but because they know what to do with more. And the rest? We work for more, spend more, owe more, need more. And end up with less. It's a quiet trap. You won't feel the floor drop out from under you. It happens slowly. One car payment, one missed opportunity, 1 year at a job that pays just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to help you rise. And the years go by. You work harder. You try to be responsible. You tell yourself it's just a rough patch, but the patch never ends. Because it wasn't a patch. It was the system working exactly as it was designed to. You weren't meant to escape. You were meant to participate endlessly. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't about blame, not your parents, not your teachers, not even the boss who underpays you. They were taught the same things. They were caught in the same loop. This isn't about anger. This is about awakening. Because once you see it, really see it, you can start to step out of it. But you can't change what you haven't named. So let's call it what it is. It's not that you're left behind because you're not trying hard enough. It's that you were taught to run on a treadmill while others were building staircases. They get higher. You get tired. And yet, the moment you stop blaming yourself, the moment you start looking at how the system works instead of just working harder in it, that's when something shifts. Not quickly, not loudly, but like the slow turning of a wheel that's been rusted, shut for years. It begins with seeing. Just seeing. So let's sit here for a moment. Not in shame, not in fear. Just In quiet truth, they get richer, you stay behind, but maybe not forever. You ever wonder how it all starts? Not the money, not the big house or the shiny car, but the seed, the idea, that quietly decides the path a man will walk. Most people think it's about inheritance, or luck, or some secret investment. No, it starts far earlier than that, before the job, before the choices, before the paycheck. It starts with a belief about what's possible, a belief about what's normal, a belief about where you belong. You grow up hearing things, watching things. You see your parents stress over bills. You see them save coupons, count coins, argue over money behind closed doors, and you absorb it. Not by choice, by survival. You learn early that money is tight, that there's never enough, that rich people are lucky, greedy, or not like us. And without realizing it, you inherit something far more powerful than money. You inherit rules for reality, rules like, life is hard. Just be thankful for what you have. People like us don't get ahead. Money doesn't grow on trees. These words shape you, quietly, in the background. They decide what you reach for, and what you never even think to try. That's how poverty works. Not just in your wallet, in your mind. A slow fog that convinces you to settle, to shrink, to stay small. Meanwhile, someone else grows up hearing a different set of truths. Money is a tool. Opportunities are everywhere. Ask questions, take risks, learn how things work. You can build something that lasts. They weren't born with more intelligence, just more permission. And that permission opens doors the rest of us don't even see. So when you look around and ask yourself, why do they keep rising while I keep struggling? Sometimes it's not about what they're doing. It's about what they believe is allowed. And belief is powerful, because belief becomes behavior, and behavior becomes pattern, and pattern becomes a life. You get up, go to work, come home. You're exhausted. So you rest, maybe watch something, scroll, numb out. Then tomorrow you do it again. There's no space to ask bigger questions, no space to try something new. Just survive. Just get through the week. You don't dream anymore. Not really. You just cope. But let me tell you something, friend. You weren't born to cope. You were born to choose. And yes, you were handed a script, a mindset, a story that wasn't yours. But you don't have to keep reading from it, because here's the deeper truth. The rich don't just have money. They have margin. Margin to think, margin to plan, margin to fail forward, again and again. They're not smarter. They're not working harder. They just started playing a different game much earlier. And you? You've been stuck trying to win a game you were never taught how to play. That's not failure. That's design. And that design can be UNLEARNED. Slowly, quietly, one thought at a time. You don't need to leap. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to begin noticing the loops, noticing the patterns, noticing how often you've accepted lack as normal. That's the real poverty, when the mind stops reaching. But I'll tell you this, I've seen men change, not in a flash, but in time, when they stopped blaming, and started observing, when they stopped chasing more, and started questioning why they had so little to begin with. That's where freedom starts. Not in money. But in awareness. Because once you see the system, the script, the game you were handed, you can stop repeating it. And from there, even the poorest man can begin to build something new. Not fast, not loud. But real. And in the end, that's what matters most. You don't need a promotion. You need a pattern. That may sound strange, but it's the pattern, not the position, that decides your future. See, we were taught to chase titles, chase raises, chase status, but all that chasing, it keeps you running in place, running without pause. The wealthy don't run like that. They build. And what they build is simple, really. They build systems that repeat wealth. While most of us repeat survival. It's not your fault. You were never taught to think like a builder. You were taught to think like a laborer. To work hard, keep your head down, avoid risk. To believe that if you just follow the rules, things will get better. But here's the truth most people never hear. Following the rules keeps you exactly where you are. It keeps you loyal to jobs that drain you, keeps you paying debts that don't serve you, keeps you spending just enough to stay broke. It's the quiet tragedy of the middle class, trapped between the fear of poverty and the illusion of progress. And unless you change the pattern, not just the job, not just the boss, nothing changes. But patterns can change, and that's the beginning of power. Let me ask you something. What happens when, instead of asking for more money, you ask, what is my money doing when I'm not looking? That question opens everything, because money left unmanaged disappears. But money with direction, it compounds. It multiplies. It creates options. And options, friend, are what freedom really looks like. I've seen men with six-figure jobs and no freedom. I've seen women with modest incomes, but they owned their time. It was never about the number. It was about the pattern. So what does that mean for you? It means you start where you are, with what you have, and you stop spending like someone trying to escape the week, and start planting like someone building a future. You stop saying, I can't afford to invest, and start asking, what am I already investing in with my time, my habits, my choices? Because you're always investing. Every day. Whether you mean to or not, you invest in comfort, or you invest in change. You invest in distractions, or you invest in direction. You invest in what's easy now, or what will grow later. Even your boredom is an investment. Even your silence is a seed. And the rich, they've just learned to plant different seeds. While you consume, they create. While you wait, they act. While you fear the loss, they trust the process. And again, not because they're better, but because someone showed them the rhythm of wealth, a rhythm most never hear, because it's quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't shine. It's not on billboards. It's not in ads. It's not sold in flashy courses. It looks like this. Spend less than you earn. Use the rest to build something that lasts. Let that something feed you tomorrow. Simple, but not easy. Not in a world that rewards consumption. That's why change begins within, not with income, but with identity. When you stop saying, I'm just trying to get by, and start saying, I'm learning to build wealth, something inside you shifts. You begin to act differently, think differently, choose differently. You start honoring your future self more than your current cravings. And that's when the pattern breaks. Not overnight, but day by day. One choice at a time. That's what the rich figured out. Not just how to make money, but how to relate to it. They don't chase it. They partner with it. They don't fear it. They understand it. And you can too. Not by working harder, but by seeing clearer. You don't need to hustle more hours. You need to direct the hours you already give away. You don't need more motivation. You need a moment of honesty. The kind that changes everything. And that moment might be this one. Right here. Right now. Where you stop telling yourself the story of lack and start choosing the story of creation. Because the truth is this: not behind. You're just beginning. You're not broken. You're just untrained. And training. Training can be learned. So today, you wake up, not to shame, not to guilt, but to clarity. The kind of clarity that whispers, "This ends with me." The cycle stops. Here, I will not be the one who hands this struggle to my children. You don't need the system's permission. You just need your own. There was a young man I once knew, bright eyes, quiet mind, calloused hands. He worked hard, the kind of hard that makes your back ache and your fingers stiff. Did everything his father told him, showed up early, stayed late, never complained. But no matter how many hours he gave, he was always tired and always broke. He came to me one evening, not asking for money, not looking for sympathy. Just sat down, ran a hand through his hair and said, "I don't get it. I'm doing everything right, and I still feel stuck." I looked at him for a long time, because I remembered being him, and I told him what I'll tell you now. The rich don't just make money. They learn what to do with it once it arrives. You've been taught to catch fish, but no one showed you how to build a net. He didn't say much at first, just nodded. But the next time I saw him, something was different. He was asking different questions. He was learning quietly, patiently, how money moved. He stopped spending every raise, started keeping track, stopped chasing appearances, started building margin. I watched him grow. Not into a millionaire overnight, but into a man who understood ownership of his time, his habits, his direction. He still worked hard, but the work was different now. It wasn't just for survival. It was for creation. And that made all the difference. See, you can't change where you came from, can't rewrite the rules you were handed as a child. But you can decide what happens next. You can choose what story you hand down. And the story can change. You don't need to be rich to start. You just need to stop being afraid of beginning. Because poverty isn't just about money. It's about momentum. It's a wheel that turns slowly, until it doesn't. Until the small shifts become new patterns. Until the man who once felt stuck becomes the man who plants trees he'll never sit under. That's wealth. Not just numbers, but peace. So, if you're still here, listening, hearing these words in the quiet of your own life, then maybe, just maybe, you're ready. Ready to stop blaming what's behind you and start building what's ahead. And if this spoke to something deep inside you, if it sparked a small light where it's been dark for too long, then share it. Send it to someone who needs a reminder. They're not broken. They're just beginning. And beginnings, no matter how small, are sacred.